From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 10 o'clock news.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Russ Riesinger. A meeting brought legislators, the sheriff, the county attorney, and the Billings City Council together tonight. It was a chance to talk about the city's priorities for public safety at the upcoming legislative session. Q2's David J. has more on the Zoom meeting.
Russ, more than 30 people joined in on the Zoom meeting. They covered several issues, including the county attorney talking about the early release of prisoners.
We took a snapshot of a period of a year, and some of you may have even seen these figures. I think I shared them with Representative Usher and Representative Kelker at some point. But Yellowstone County got 181 violent or sex offenders paroled from the prison into their community. And in the same time frame, Gallatin County got 1. Missoula got 30. That tells me that our local criminal justice system, our parole department, our state parole workers here, because those numbers didn't change, they are getting overburdened.
If you recall last session, there was a run at pushing roughly $1 million of public defender cost onto the city of Billings and Yellowstone County because the state was tired of dealing with this. Well, I'm going to be pushing my local elected officials that our economy and our community is going to be decimated if we don't get a handle on crime.
One of the legislators said they've been talking about these issues for more than 20 years. Another one showed a little more optimism, saying that this is also the first time that they've met with the city to talk about these. Russ?
All right, thank you, David. Other concerns covered tonight include the jail, investigations of officer-involved shootings, and recreational marijuana. City Administrator Chris Kokalski says future meetings will go more in-depth with these issues. New information released on Billings' latest homicide. We now know the identity of the man gunned down outside of Billings Church Monday night. Yellowstone County Coroner Cliff Mahoney says 30-year-old Manuel Martinez suffered multiple gunshot wounds to his torso. Martinez fell in the street in the 500 block of Broadwater Avenue, where a passing vehicle then ran over him. The suspect is still on the loose, and police do not have a description to share. They do not believe that the driver was related to that shooting. President Trump suffered another legal defeat in his bid to remain in office when the Wisconsin Supreme Court refused to hear a petition from his legal team to overturn election results. This comes as President Trump and President-elect Joe Biden are both calling on Congress to pass another coronavirus relief package. But the two men, like their counterparts on Capitol Hill, do not agree on how big that package should be. Skylar Henry has more details from Wilmington, Delaware.
Thank you.
President Trump says he believes Congress can pass an emergency coronavirus relief package put forward by Senator Mitch McConnell.
I think they're getting very close, and I want it to happen, and I believe that they're getting very close to a deal. Yeah.
The majority leader says the $500 billion proposal was kept small in order to win the president's support.
I put forward a serious and highly targeted relief proposal, including the elements which we know the president is ready and willing to sign into law.
Democrats say the proposal doesn't go far enough.
He now says that an emergency relief bill should be limited by only what President Trump will sign. Of course, we could say similarly, the bill should be limited only by what a Democratic House will pass. Neither is true compromise.
President-elect Joe Biden says he supports the larger $908 billion bipartisan plan introduced this week as the first step in providing relief for Americans.
Need relief now. So I've been urging our congressional Republicans to work on a bipartisan emergency package now.
Biden told CNN he met virtually with Dr. Anthony Fauci Thursday and that they discussed the vaccine and Fauci's future role with the White House.
I asked him to stay on in the exact same role he's had for the past several presidents, and I asked him to be a chief medical advisor for me as well and be part of the COVID team. And so what has to be done is we have to make it clear to the American people that the vaccine is safe when it occurred, when that is determined.
Biden also said when he takes office, he will ask the public to wear masks for 100 days to reduce the spread of COVID. Skylar Henry, CBS News, Wilmington, Delaware.
Well, Dr. Fauci said he expects today's conversation to be the first of a series of meetings with the White House. With some optimism growing for a new bipartisan proposal, Q2's Andrea Lutz talked with Montana's Republican Senator Steve Daines today about what the new package could contain and what it may mean for Montana families.
You're going to see a lot of similar pieces that we saw from that March care package. I think the bottom line is this. We're going to take what worked in March and continue to invest there. What didn't work, we won't.
Will we see another stimulus for individuals and families?
That's on the table in terms of looking at another stimulus check. That's something right now that both sides are looking at. I would guess that any package that passes Congress will also include some kind of stimulus check.
Daines says on the table is more funding for small businesses and schools, PPE, money for hospitals, clinics, and the Postal Service. He's opposed to any plan that includes money to help with other states deal with financial issues that occurred before the COVID outbreak. In just 24 hours, the U.S. has set a disturbing COVID-19 record. More than 200,000 new cases, 100,000 people in the hospital, and more than 2,800 deaths. In Montana, county health officials have reported 9 more deaths due to COVID-19 related illness. Those include 2 in each of Yellowstone and Dawson counties, in 1 of each of Richland and Rosebud counties. MTN News reports a total of 751 Montana victims. To the south of us, Wyoming health officials confirmed 27 new COVID-19 related deaths today. All of those deaths came within the last 2 months. And 9 of those deaths were out of Natrona County, with many of the patients being tied to an outbreak at a long-term care facility there. Nearly all the people who died had health conditions recognized as putting patients at a higher risk of serious illness. Wyoming's now up to 257 total deaths and more than 30,500 confirmed cases. All right, turning to Chief Forecaster Bob McGuire. We all know it gets pretty windy in Livingston, but this November, some of those gusts were hurricane levels.
It's a bizarre because the final accounting finally came in today, and let me show you what we wound up with. Yeah, it was very, very windy in Livingston. You just have to drive there once. You know it's kind of breezy in that area. So let me show you what the November totals show us. The average wind speed in November from Livingston was 21.6 miles per hour. And that doesn't sound very much, but when you compare it for the entire month and 24 hours a day, actually that's a pretty high number. And for Livingston, that is rather impressive. Now check this out. That is the windiest it's been in Livingston since 2000s for the last 20 years. That's very, very breezy. Now check this out. The peak wind gust was 83 miles per hour on November 13th, and the maximum sustained wind on that same day was out of the southwest at 71 miles per hour. You might remember a Category 1 hurricane is 74 miles per hour maximum sustained wind, so it was just below that. But wow, our weekend is actually pretty nice, though. We'll chat about that coming up in a few more minutes.
All right, thank you, Bob. Though our forecast is looking nice for the next few days, winter will soon be upon us. Snow and ice can make getting from point A to point B difficult, and not just on our roads, but also on our rails. Fortunately, BNSF Railroad has some interesting ways to keep its trains running, especially in the cold. Q2's Krista Rose takes a closer look.
Since the 1800s, railroads have been connecting us. And since the 1990s, BNSF Railway has been moving everything from groceries to medicine to automobiles. You name it, they move it, and they do it in all types of weather. Courtney Wallace is the Senior Director of External Communications at BNSF. I recently spoke to her via Zoom and asked her just how they keep the trains running in several feet of snow.
Winter weather in Montana happens every year. It happens for decades. We know this. This is something that we've been facing for, a few centuries now. And we always learn from, past winters, past experiences. And so we make sure that we have good plans in place. We have safe measures in place. More importantly than anything else is that we're moving goods safely, that our people are safe and our trains are safe.
BNSF is a huge Western railway with a lot of territory to cover. So having the right equipment in the right places to deal with inclement weather is key. But how do they actually clear the tracks?
We do have our rotary snowplows. They're actually pretty cool equipment. They're about 150 tons each, and what they're equipped with is this powerful 11-foot circular fan that can cut through deep and shifting snowdrifts. So, and our rotary snowplows play a crucial role in our winter action plans. We have several thousand switch heaters installed on our network, similar if you think about it like a electric blanket. And so those will help melt the snow in a very safe and efficient way.
They even have snow sheds or roofs that help shield the tracks from snow, essentially creating a tunnel for the trains to pass through. And BNSF employs a crew of avalanche specialists that work with the state and the national parks to monitor and mitigate avalanches in Montana. All in all, Mother Nature can be unpredictable, and it takes a dedicated and innovative team of railroaders to keep things moving.
We have some incredible people who are very humble, do not like to take compliments, but the work and effort that they do to keep this railroad running safely is always amazing to me, because it's not that our headquarters are in Fort Worth, but most of our folks live in the field. They live in Havre, they live in Glendive, they live in Great Falls, they live in all points in between. So Montana's home. And we have a lot of great people there who really care about the safety of the railroad, because that's where they live. It's where their families and their loved ones live.
Reporting in Billings, Chris DeRose, MTN News.
All right, thanks, Chris. And also a big thank you to BNSF for sharing some of that great aerial footage. For more information on this story, you can log on to ktvq.com. Well, today a big win for our community and its future. Not only did Hugh Lynn Edward, a graduate of West High, win a new $33,000 2020 Chevrolet Equinox today, our Billings public schools and school programs will get a big financial boost during this difficult year. This raffle made possible by the Education Foundation for Billings Public Schools, and of course the donation of that brand new vehicle from Denny Menhold Chevrolet raised $85,220 for some 40 school clubs, teams, and PTAs. That's $30,000 more than raised last year.
It is super exciting to be able to have somebody get excited about winning a car and supporting education. So 100% of the $85,000 raised goes directly to education. We're so thrilled and thankful for Denny Menhold Chevrolet and their generosity to make this happen.
And again, the winner of that new Equinox is Hugh Lynn Edward, who graduated from West High School. Just so happens his dad also coaches football there. Still to come on tonight's MTN 10 o'clock news here on Q2. Frontline workers have played the part of real-life superheroes during the COVID-19 pandemic. Now they're getting the true superhero treatment. We'll explain coming up in tonight's Health Watch. Then a little later in sports, running with the Battling Bears. We're going to hear from the Rocky men as they eagerly await the season to get started.